The galaxy trembled on the brink of chaos, a fragile silence hanging thick like the calm before a storm. For years, tensions had simmered among the various alien factions, each eyeing the others with suspicion and hunger for power. But now, those rivalries had formed a dangerous coalition, an alliance born not from friendship, but from fear and ambition. Their target was clear. Earth's allies scattered across the frontier, worlds rich with resources and strategic importance. To these alien commanders, humanity was little more than a minor obstacle, an unpredictable species not yet fully tested in the harsh reality of interstellar war. Many believed Earth's defenses were weak, its fleets outdated, and its leaders inexperienced. In dark command rooms far from human space, alien generals mocked the idea that humans could pose a serious threat. Scouts had reported a fleet moving steadily toward the frontier planet Kepler-57. But when the first ships appeared on long-range sensors, shock rippled through the enemy lines. The designs were unmistakably human-sleek, powerful, and unlike anything the enemy had expected to face here. Yet, even as confusion spread among their ranks, they clung stubbornly to their old beliefs, unwilling to accept that the humans might have prepared a secret weapon, something far beyond what the enemy had predicted. Deep within Earth's command centers, the mood was tense but resolute. Leaders who had long anticipated such a confrontation watched their preparations come to fruition. For years they had worked quietly, building a fleet unlike any other, an armada, vast in number, bristling with cutting-edge technology and manned by crews trained to face the worst challenges of space warfare. This was no ordinary defense force. It was a message to the galaxy that humanity would not be conquered or underestimated. While the enemy celebrated what they thought was an easy victory, Earth's armada remained hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Intelligence reports detailed the enemy's movements and weaknesses, each piece of data carefully analyzed to ensure the humans would have the upper hand. On the frontier, soldiers and pilots prepared themselves mentally and physically for what was to come, aware that the future of many worlds depended on their success. As the alien coalition's fleets advanced, they encountered little resistance at first, their confidence growing with each captured outpost. They sent messages back to their commanders boasting of an imminent victory, unaware of the shadow growing. Behind their lines, the humans, knowing their strength was in unity and surprise, held their fire, choosing instead to outmaneuver the enemy in the coming hours. Communications on the enemy's side buzzed with speculation, some beginning to question the ease of their progress, but most remained convinced that the humans were retreating or scattered. This misjudgment proved costly. In the silent depths of space, the first vessels of the human armada slipped through hidden jump gates, their engines humming quietly, cloaked by advanced technology designed to evade detection. These ships were more than just weapons. They represented years of hope, sacrifice, and a determination to protect not only Earth but every ally who stood with humanity. Commanders aboard the flagship coordinated with precision, their voices steady even as tension rose. The time had come to shatter the enemy's expectations and reveal the true strength of human resilience and ingenuity. On the ground, civilians watched the skies, unsure of what to expect but feeling the weight of history pressing down. Families held their breath, soldiers tightened their grips on weapons, and leaders prepared to make decisions that could change the course of the war. The distant stars seemed to glow with a fierce promise, a promise that humanity would fight, not just to survive, but to triumph. In those moments, the calm before the storm felt heavier than ever, a silent warning that soon the galaxy would witness a battle unlike any before. The enemy's arrogance was about to meet the unyielding force of a human armada. And when that meeting happened, everything would change. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity stepped forward as a true power, ready to defend freedom and justice among the stars. The enemy forces had just begun their aggressive push, launching swift attacks on key outposts that guarded vital trade routes and strategic positions throughout the frontier. Their confidence was high, built on months of easy victories and minimal resistance. Alien commanders believed the human forces were scattered and disorganized, unable to mount a serious defense. Yet as their warships advanced deeper into the sector, a sudden ripple of tension spread through their ranks. Something was different this time. Without warning, the dark reaches of space near a hidden jump point suddenly erupted with activity. From the shadows of a previously unknown stargate, a massive human fleet emerged, gleaming under the distant light of a nearby star. The human armada had arrived, and its presence was both overwhelming and stunning. These ships were unlike any the enemy had faced, towering vessels equipped with the latest technology. Engines humming with power, and weapon systems designed to strike with terrifying speed and precision. Each ship moved with a coordinated grace that spoke of countless hours of training and flawless communication. As the fleet surged forward, enemy sensors struggled to keep up with the sudden influx of targets, their systems overwhelmed by the immense scale of the human armada. Panic flickered through enemy command centers as reports flooded in. Human ships were everywhere, cutting off retreat paths and blocking reinforcements. The arrogance that had marked the enemy's campaign began to crumble under the weight of this unexpected assault. Across the battlefields, communications lines crackled with frantic messages. Enemy commanders demanded explanations, their voices betraying shock and disbelief as they tried to understand how humanity had concealed such a formidable force for so long. Meanwhile, Earth's commanders maintained calm, their confidence unshaken. They coordinated the assault with precision, demonstrating not only superior numbers, but also innovative tactics that caught the enemy off guard. Advanced shields absorbed incoming fire, while human pilots executed daring maneuvers, slipping past enemy lines to deliver critical strikes. Weapons never before seen in battle lit up the darkness, beams of energy slicing through enemy cruisers and disabling entire squadrons in seconds. The human armada was more than a fleet. It was a symbol of hope and resilience, a demonstration of what humanity could achieve when united and prepared. On Allied worlds, news of the Armada's arrival sparked celebrations and renewed determination. Soldiers who had been pushed to their limits found new strength knowing help had come, while civilians dared to dream of peace once again. The enemy's morale, however, began to fracture. Reports of heavy losses and failed attacks sowed confusion. And fear, some factions started to question their leaders, doubting whether victory was still within reach. The unexpected arrival of the human armada turned the tide of the conflict in an instant, shifting momentum toward the defenders and forcing the enemy to reconsider their entire strategy. As the battle intensified, the human fleet pressed their advantage, striking swiftly at enemy command ships and supply lines. Each victory further demoralized opposing forces and inspired allies. Despite the chaos of war, Earth's commanders never lost sight of their goal: to protect the frontier and show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. Behind the scenes, engineers and scientists aboard the flagship worked tirelessly to adapt weapons and defenses in real time, turning each engagement into an opportunity to learn and improve. The enemy, overwhelmed by the human armada's relentless assault and strategic brilliance, found themselves on the defensive for the first time in months. The arrival of humanity's fleet was more than a military maneuver. It was a declaration that Earth and its allies would not yield, that they were ready to fight with every resource and every ounce of willpower they possessed. As stars streaked past the hulls of massive warships and energy weapons lit the void, the enemy's confidence gave way to desperation. The great illusion of human weakness shattered, replaced by the undeniable truth: the human armada was here. And with it, a new era had begun, one in which humanity stood tall, united, and unbeatable. The silence that once held the galaxy in its grip was broken by the roar of engines and the flash of laser fire, signaling that the long-awaited battle for the frontier was underway, and this time the game had truly changed. The moment the battle erupted, space itself seemed to come alive with light and sound, as human and enemy forces collided with unmatched fury. The vast human armada moved as one, every ship a part of a well-oiled machine working toward a single goal: victory. Human commanders had spent years training their crews, developing tactics that combined brute strength with clever strategy. And now, those plans came to life in the heat of combat. Their ships danced through space, weaving around enemy fire with astonishing agility, while powerful energy cannons unleashed bursts that tore through enemy armor. The advantage of advanced AI support became clear as automated systems analyzed enemy movements in real time, feeding crucial data to pilots who acted with boldness and precision. Human pilots, fearless and skilled, pushed their ships to the immense limits, executing daring attacks that caught the enemy off guard time and again. Traditional enemy tactics, once reliable and feared, began to crumble under this new wave of unpredictable assaults. Their formations broke apart as they struggled to respond to sudden changes, to rapid flanking moves, and to combined attacks that came from multiple directions at once. The enemy commanders, used to dominating through sheer numbers and straightforward force, found themselves scrambling to adapt to a foe who was fluid, clever, and unrelenting. On the surface of key planets and moons, the human ground forces supported by the Armada launched coordinated strikes that hit enemy supply depots, communications hubs, and defensive positions. These simultaneous attacks were planned with precision, to weaken enemy control and to reclaim lost territory. As soldiers fought bravely on the ground, the Armada provided constant cover, striking enemy reinforcements before they could reach the front lines. Every battle became a test of endurance, strategy, and willpower. The clash was not just between ships or soldiers, but between two very different philosophies of war. While the enemy relied on rigid discipline and brute force, humanity's strength lay in its adaptability and creativity. Engineers aboard the fleet quickly modified weapons and shields during battle, while pilots developed new maneuvers on the fly, turning every challenge into an opportunity. Allied forces watching from nearby worlds felt hope rising as news of human victories spread. Each reclaimed territory was a step toward freedom. Each destroyed enemy installation a blow to those who wished to dominate the galaxy by fear. The fighting was fierce and relentless. Losses were suffered on both sides, but the tide clearly began to turn. Human ships, though sometimes outnumbered, used teamwork and superior tactics to overwhelm their foes. Ground commanders coordinated, with fleet leaders sharing intelligence and timing their attacks perfectly to maximize impact. The enemy's resistance grew weaker as their supply lines were cut and their reinforcements delayed. Morale among human forces surged with every victory, their belief in themselves and their cause shining brighter even in the darkest moments of war. Yet, despite the progress, the commanders remained cautious. They knew the enemy would not give up easily and could launch desperate counterattacks. The battlefields were harsh and unforgiving, and victory depended on constant vigilance and quick thinking. Stories of individual heroism spread rapidly. Pilots who saved entire squadrons by taking impossible risks, engineers who repaired critical systems under fire, and soldiers who held the line against overwhelming odds. These tales inspired not just the fighters, but also the civilians who followed the war from afar, fueling a spirit that nothing could break. The galaxy watched as the once feared enemy fleet faltered, their ships falling one by one to the relentless human assault. The enemy's strategies, once so effective, now seemed predictable against the ever-changing human tactics. As the battle raged on, the human armada pushed forward, confident yet cautious, turning what had started as a desperate defense into a powerful offense. In the vast emptiness of space, illuminated by the glow of explosions and laser fire, the true nature of the conflict became clear. This was not just a fight for territory, but a battle for survival, for dignity, and for the right to exist on their own terms. Humanity's spirit, forged in countless challenges and hardships, shone through every maneuver and every decision. The clash of titans was far from over, but one truth was undeniable: the human will to adapt, to innovate, and to fight with heart and mind together had become an unstoppable force. With every pulse of energy, weapons, and every strategic move, the galaxy moved closer to a new chapter. One written by those who refused to yield and who believed that even in the darkest hours, open courage could change the course of history. The enemy fleet, battered and broken from the relentless human assault, found itself cornered with nowhere left to run. Their once proud armada, which had marched confidently across the stars, now trembled under the pressure of the human forces closing in from all sides. Desperation filled their command centers as leaders debated their final option at last. Terrifying. Gamble that could either turn the tide or bring complete ruin. Hidden within the heart of their largest battleship was a superweapon, device of immense destructive power designed to obliterate entire fleets in a single blast. This was their secret hope, a weapon so devastating that it could wipe out the human command ship and break the spirit of the entire armada. The enemy commanders, knowing this was their last chance, ordered the weapon to be activated, a chilling countdown beginning as energy gathered ominously within the massive structure. On the human side, sensors immediately detected the growing threat. Alarms sounded, and the fleet's commanders rallied their forces with urgent precision. The flagship, carrying the highest-ranking officers, became the central point of defense as human ships formed a protective ring around it, determined to shield it from the impending blast. Pilots flew with courage beyond measure, weaving through enemy fire to intercept any attackers who tried to reach their command center. Amid this chaos, a small elite team of pilots and engineers prepared for a mission that would push their limits and test their resolve. They volunteered to board the enemy's Super Weapon battleship, a vessel heavily guarded and bristling with defenses. Their goal was clear but dangerous. Infiltrate the ship, navigate its labyrinth of corridors and traps, and disable the weapon from within before it could fire. The journey through the enemy ship was tense and perilous, every step shadowed by the threat of discovery. The team moved with silent efficiency, relying on stealth, teamwork, quick thinking, to avoid patrols and overcome obstacles. Inside, the Super Weapon's core engineers worked feverishly to understand its complex systems, hacking into controls and overriding security protocols. The pilots stood guard, ready to defend against any sudden attack. Outside, the battle raged with renewed intensity. Human ships absorbed the enemy's desperate fire, pushing back with relentless determination to protect the infiltration teams. Vital mission. Time slipped away with cruel speed, every second bringing the weapon closer to activation. Then, in a moment filled with tension and hope, the team succeeded. With a surge of technical skill and courage, they disabled the Super Weapon's core systems, cutting off the energy flow and neutralizing the threat before the countdown could finish. The enemy crew's hope shattered instantly, their faces reflecting disbelief and panic as their ultimate weapon became useless. Without their secret advantage, the enemy fleet quickly lost coordination and control. Ships that had once fought with deadly precision began to fall into disarray, retreating or succumbing to the human forces closing in. The human armada seized the opportunity, pressing forward with renewed vigor and confidence. The flagship's commanders communicated clear orders to exploit the enemy's weakness, striking deep into the heart of their formations and breaking their lines one by one. The battlefield echoed with the sounds of explosions and the flashing light of energy weapons. But amidst the chaos, a new sense of hope and victory filled the air. The enemy's last stand, meant to be a final demonstration of power instead, became the moment their defeat was sealed. Across the frontier, Allied worlds watched as reports confirmed the collapse of the enemy's once feared armada. The human forces, against all odds, had turned the tide with bravery, skill, and unwavering determination. In the command center of the flagship, leaders exchanged glances of quiet satisfaction but remained focused, knowing that this victory was only the beginning. The war was not yet over, but the enemy's spirit was broken, and the path toward lasting peace grew clearer. As human ships regrouped and prepared for the next phase, the galaxy understood that a new chapter had begun, one written by those who refused to surrender, who fought not only with weapons but with heart and mind. The enemy fleet, once a symbol of unstoppable force, was now a shadow of its former self, scattered and defeated. The human armada moved forward, ready to secure the future they had fought so hard to protect, and to ensure that freedom would reign among the stars for generations to come. With the enemy fleet shattered and their last desperate attempts crushed, A deep and lasting silence settled over the frontier, signaling the end of one of the galaxy's most brutal conflicts. The human-led coalition forged through hardship, and courage moved quickly to secure peace across the scattered worlds that had once been battlegrounds. Soldiers and diplomats alike worked together, building alliances and restoring trust among the many species who had suffered under the shadow of war. For humanity, this victory was more than just a military success. It was a defining moment that earned them respect and admiration from allies who had once doubted their strength, and even from former enemies who could no longer deny the courage and skill that humanity had shown. Ships of every kind, from the largest capital vessels to smaller scout craft, began their long journeys back to Earth and allied homeworlds, carrying weary but proud crews whose faces bore the marks of battle, but also the light of hope. Across the galaxy, celebrations ignited like stars being born. People gathered in cities and colonies, sharing stories of bravery and sacrifice, honoring the heroes who had risked everything to defend freedom. Yet, amidst the joy and relief, leaders and commanders remained watchful and vigilant. They knew that peace was fragile, that the galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, and that this victory, while monumental, was only the beginning of a much larger journey. Earth's leaders spoke openly about the lessons learned during the war, emphasizing unity, cooperation, and the need to prepare for future challenges that might come from beyond the known borders. New alliances were formed, strengthened not just by treaties, but by the shared experience of facing a common threat. The human spirit, tested and proven, became a beacon of hope for countless worlds looking toward a more stable and just future. On the decks of the flagship, commanders gathered to reflect on the cost of victory, the lives lost, the sacrifices made, and the resilience that had carried them through the darkest hours. They pledged to honor those sacrifices by ensuring that such conflicts would never rise again, by building a galaxy where peace and justice were protected fiercely and fairly. At the same time, scientists and engineers began turning their attention to new technologies inspired by the war, aiming to explore the stars with curiosity rather than fear, and to unlock secrets that might help all civilizations thrive together. Among the celebrations, stories of heroism continued to inspire generations. Tales of pilots who dodged impossible odds, engineers who saved entire ships through their quick thinking, and diplomats who bridged divides between cultures became the foundation of a new era of cooperation and understanding. The frontier, once a place of constant danger and fear, transformed into a symbol of hope and opportunity, reminder that unity and courage could overcome even the greatest threats. As ships streamed homeward through the vast emptiness of space, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating alongside those who had fought so hard to protect them. Humanity's promise to stand united and protect freedom across the stars was no longer just words. It was a commitment etched into the fabric of galactic history. The war had changed them, made them stronger and wiser, ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold with determination and heart. And so, as the galaxy began to heal and rebuild, a new chapter opened, a chapter where humanity stood tall among the stars, a guardian of peace and justice, ready to write stories of hope, courage, and unity for all who called the cosmos home.